Experience fuel to heal the soul with real talk and deep dives into hidden mental and emotional valleys and steep peaks of what ails and hinders us from thriving far and beyond surviving. This is a show to awaken the sleeping giants and hidden phenomenal in all of us. R&R. Welcome. You've entered the space to release and rediscover. R&R with Topazz is an experience fuel to heal the soul with real talk and deep dives into hidden mental and emotional valleys and steep peaks of what ails and hinders us from thriving far and beyond surviving. This is a show to awaken the sleeping giants and hidden phenomenal in all of us. R&R. Welcome. Entered the space to release and rediscover. R&R with Topazz is an experience fuel to heal the soul with real talk and deep dives into hidden mental and emotional valleys and steep peaks of what ails and hinders us from thriving far and beyond surviving. This is a show to awaken the sleeping giants and hidden phenomenal in all of us. R&R. Welcome. Well, good evening. How is everybody doing out there? I hope you are well. You have entered the studio with for R&R with Topazz. That's right. This is Mind Matters Monday, and I am your host Topazz. Looking forward to an amazing show this evening. We are continuing our commitment to bringing awareness, education, and reality to the truths about breast cancer, surviving and beyond. So, for those of you that have family members, or maybe you yourself might be a survivor of this ugly, ferocious disease that has plagued our communities for a long time, not just breast cancer, but cancer in general. Even though we are focusing on breast cancer, I would encourage you to invite them to tune in to tonight's episode. That's right. Invite your family, friends, or any survivors, anyone who wants more information, wants to be an advocate for breast cancer awareness. Have them to tune in to the show this evening. But before we bring on our guest and we actually start to dive into our topic, as always, I want to just encourage those of you who are going through difficult times that this is a tough season for you. Just want to encourage you to seek out support if you need support. We've had a number of recent suicides in our community of young Black males, which is very concerning to me, particularly as a psychotherapist, a professional committed to healing, and a pastor committed to bringing healing, spiritual healing, mental and emotional healing, and also dedicated to physical healing. That is especially concerning to me as an advocate in our community. Get help. Don't try to do it alone. If you are someone who is battling with depression, battling with thoughts of suicide, no matter how old you are, because suicide ideation is no respecter of persons, and it can seek you out at a very young age, as we've learned, where we've had young people in elementary school, 10 years old, 8 years old, who have actually suffered suicide attempts, parents who have lost their babies to suicide. This is real. And especially in a time where life is just constantly changing, so many unpredictable emotional and mental health challenges. Whether it has to do with adjusting to bullying on the playground, adjusting to being in and out of the classroom. One minute you're in the classroom, the next minute you're having to figure out how to learn online. And parents who are having to make that adjustment with their children. That's no easy task either. You have to keep adjusting your life to supporting your children as they are making shifts, and it feels like there's no regard for your obligations as a parent, your obligations as a professional, having to still manage the household and support your children with their assignments, with their school curriculum in different ways. That is not something that most parents were prepared for. Not even the educators are prepared for what's happening. Then the internal and intra-internal structures in the school system with wearing a mask versus not wearing a mask. And then it just goes on and on. This pandemic, death, reality, the violence in our community continues. It's really sad. So many funerals of violence. And I dare to call it gang violence necessarily, because we're quick to say that, but we don't always know that it's necessarily gang related. But we do know that Black men are gunning down Black men. Black boys are gunning down Black boys, and even our young girls are involved in some of this violence, and it is overwhelming. Financial duress, divorce, families breaking down. There's just so much. So again, I encourage you to seek out professional help
Don't be afraid of it. Don't allow the stigma and the lies about what mental health, the value of mental health, and what that really means to seek it out. Don't allow that to deter you and to get in the way of you truly getting the help that you need. Be committed to self-care. That's really self-care, when you're doing what you need to thrive mentally, emotionally, or physically, exercising, um, eating healthy, nutrition, and getting your mental health in balance, being able to regulate emotionally. All of those things matter. And for those of you who have lost loved ones in recent times, or maybe it hasn't been recent, but you are truly still grieving, you're in the mourning stages, my deepest condolences to you and to your families in this season. So just want you to know that we care here at R&R, here at CTN Media. We care. We are Black media, where we are changing the narrative. We are here for our community. We are dedicated to each and every one of you. But that doesn't mean that we don't care about others. We do. But our focus is on our community. So for those of you that have needs, please don't hesitate to reach out. With that being said, let me just pause for a minute, because that was some pretty heavy issues that I just brought up, and I want to make sure that we just take some time to breathe in the midst of all of that heaviness. Take some time to just have a deep, deep breath. We go through so much in the course of the day, and we don't even realize how often we are not breathing. And it does impact our blood flow, our circulation, our heart rate, our blood pressure. Take the time to do a deep breath. Release. And when we release, when we get rid of all of that ugly stuff, when we get rid of the toxic energy, we clear our minds, and we really are able to rediscover some things, to look at things differently, to have a different outlook, a different perspective. And that helps to increase our resilience, our emotional, mental, and spiritual capacity. All right. Is everybody ready? Remember, your comments are welcome in the chat, as always. And if you'd like to have an opportunity to come on the air live, welcome your phone calls at 303-801-8052. If you have comments, questions, or personal testimony that's related to our program this evening, we invite you to punch those numbers in and call in. Let your voice be heard. All right, you ready for some R&R? Tonight's agenda, our focus, last week, as you know, I had guests, some pretty incredible warrior women who are, who some have, they were at different journeys in their struggle, and their overcoming, and their thriving. Some at the beginning still dealing with cancer, breast cancer. Others, there was one woman who, I think it's been 19 years since she's come through her journey. We had a survivor who had battled and overcome, by the grace of God, 6 encounters with cancer. And a couple of those, at least a couple of those, were stage 4. But she was on here with her testimony to let you all know that regardless of what the doctor says, regardless of whatever that stage of cancer that you have, does not mean that it has to be a death sentence. And that's why education and prevention is so important. So people are not automatically buying into this lethal this idea that it has to be lethal. The more educated we are, just like with anything else, the greater the greater the chances and the more empowered we are at overcoming this disease. It does not have to defeat us. And the testimonies that came last week were proof and evidence of that. All right. Well, let's hear tonight from a husband. I call him that ride or die guy. Truly, truly, you know, a lot of people say I'm your ride or die, but are you really? Are you one that's going to hang in there when the going gets truly tough? And when you think about what marriage vows say, through sickness and through health, through death do us part, what that really means, that commitment to that promise. Here is a gentleman who has shown himself to truly be a warrior, that ride or die husband. So without further ado, let's go ahead and bring on Mr. Bernard Wesley. Hopefully he's in our back room. Has our guest arrived yet? Let's see. Guest not here yet. Guest not here yet. Oh no. All right. Well. Okay. Not sure what's going on with my guest. So let's have some conversation with anyone that's actually in our audience tonight that may be willing to ask some tough questions about this disease, this condition of breast cancer. What do you think about what I'm saying as it relates to the fact that breast cancer does not have to be a final call? Because it really doesn't. You can come through this thing with the right information. How do you take care of yourself? How do you really combat this disease? If I have any viewers out there that would like to chime in, if I have any other survivors out there that would like to chime in, we want to hear from you. We want to know what your thoughts are. How did you take care of yourself? You know, there are so many that are getting this news that if it is, if you have family that have had cancer, and breast cancer, you know, or any form of cancer, that it actually increases the likelihood of you getting cancer. I'm going to see if I can switch over to my laptop. Let's see if my laptop is going to participate so that I can check in with my guest to see what's going on with my guest. This is all right. Let's see if this is working. My producers, is this going to work? And is my computer coming in? Just bear with me as I try to multitask here. Okay. Let's see. All right. Hopefully you can hear me out there. And I can try to multitask
make sure that I don't have a message from my guest um, to indicate that there's been some type of problem. Um, just bear with me for just a moment. Is there anyone out there who has found what I've been talking about thus far to be relevant to your situation, to your circumstances, the reality of getting therapy, getting clinical support, being something that is truly beneficial, regardless of what the challenge may be? Have you yourself had the courage to uh, get support, get mental health support? We can get some comments in the chat. Um, all right. Well, I've sent out a message. I'm going to just move forward because I have no idea what's going on. Hopefully, everything is okay. There's not been any kind of crises because we did communicate earlier today and everything was a go. So I can't imagine what's happening. But I'm going to move forward with tonight's show. Let me just kind of talk about why I even chose this guest tonight. I am familiar with his story, and so I want to just share a little bit about what I know um, in how he stood by his wife and some of the sacrifices that he had to make as a husband who gave up part of his career and to some extent had to start over because of what was required of him to truly take care of his wife. And one of the reasons why this is truly a big deal is because of all of the stories I've heard about husbands who don't show up or who can't handle the pressure of being married to being in relationship with someone who is struggling with breast cancer. We know what our bodies, our physical bodies, as much as we are trying to move from, and we might even speak out of our mouth that the physical isn't where the value is. That's not where the substance is. The substance is in our heart, what we bring in terms of our character, our integrity, our soul, our spirit. To a relationship, to circumstances. Who are we beyond our physical? We know that the reality is so often the physical is really what keeps relationships going, whether it's the sex itself, whether it's how attractive you are. We know how relationships have a tendency to fall off just because somebody gains weight, let alone when somebody loses one of their loses the attribute that one of the partners is most attracted to, whether it's their breasts, but particularly as it is for a woman, and other parts of her body. And then the husband is having to contend with the fact that now this that she doesn't have any breasts, but it's what happens even before and during that process of having to have a mastectomy. um, the the disease is ugly. It brings a stench. It oftentimes brings infection to the chest and is very unattractive. The smell that goes with it, and that entire process of recovering from that, going through the surgery, and then obviously the
being able to be together physically becomes an issue. So if you don't have a foundation in that relationship already that is attractive and truly keeps a person's attention and is enough to keep them committed to the process, then it makes it real easy for that person to decide, you know what, this is too much for me. There are people that leave relationships for less than that. As I said, it's just gaining weight. I know guys who have said, you know, their wives gained too much weight, so they left the relationship. So if that superficial component, that's something that, you know, exercise and a little self-esteem can help to make that change. But if that's enough to cause somebody to get a divorce, then let alone having to deal with this really central part of what a lot of men are attracted to, or what even us as women, where we draw so much of our femininity from, our breasts, you know, help us to feel sensuous. So if we ourselves don't even have that internal substance that where our worth and our value comes from beyond what our physical body looks like, then we are automatically going to be dealing with some challenges anyway. And so when a man can withstand that, regardless of what's happening to his wife or his partner's physical body, because he loves beyond that, then that person deserves to be commended and supported and encouraged. But because we know that it's easier said than done, I felt like it was worth really giving that topic some attention. And so we want to do that this evening. And our guest seems to have gotten himself settled. He's played with his little lights and made some adjustments in the background and put his hands all over the camera and everything. So are you ready, Mr. Wesley?
I tell you what, you making it.
He can't hear you. You're muted.
Oh, hold on a minute.
So no, he's not ready.
Okay, wait a minute.
Now this is somebody who is in IT. I want y'all to know that he's in IT, and he's over here having some technical issues. He's not muted. You're not muted. So I need you to work out whatever challenges are going on. Oh, you can hear him? Okay,
Yeah,
great. You can hear him. I just can't hear him.
Yeah.
So I know what that means. Now I'm going to have to jump back on my phone because clearly there's something going on with my computer that has my audio.
Because I hear you just.
So let me jump back on my computer over here. Thank you to my back room for letting me know that it's on my end. So in the meantime, Mr. Wesley, if you could just introduce yourself while I'm jumping on over here.
So I'm Bernard Wesley. Been married to Jackie Wesley 28 years and some change. And 12, probably 13 years ago, I guess I'll say I was blessed. I was one of the fortunate ones to be able to walk the path with my wife through the whole cancer process. And so a lot of the things that you're talking about pretty much spot on. And it's very revealing, but as you said, it really begins to speak to kind of where your relationship is, kind of where your heart lies in terms of what's important, and when you're have been tasked with dealing with a spouse or a individual who's had to go through breast cancer. For me, we were pretty much on the same team in terms of the decisions that she had to make. They offered several, shortcuts, but my wife decided to do complete mastectomy and then rebuild and that whole process. And so And that doesn't even consider the.
So, Mr. Wesley, let me pause you for just a moment. Let your folks in the background know we can hear them. So we need you to either shut the door where you are, or we need them to.
Oh, okay.
Okay, go ahead.
So anyway, you figure the 6 to 8 months of chemo, 5 to 7 months of radiation, surgeries, 5 or 6 of those. And once you get to, 2 years of that, I think the biggest thing that I don't know, I won't say I was prepared for, but I was a lot more in tune with that this person will not be the same person that started this process, two plus years in the making. And
well, that's a good place for me to
sure.
Just kind of rewind a little bit. Let's go to the beginning.
Okay.
Let's go to the beginning. First of all, let me ask you this. What was it that you fell in love with about your wife?
Oh my goodness. Her laugh, her personality, the laughs at my jokes. I mean, we were, we spent many years just really getting to know the parts of it that cancer can't touch.
Mm.
That's there are parts of it that cancer can't touch, and so those are the things that you hold on to when you start down this road. Now, as you were saying, if it's your marriage is physical, you're looking for this person to be that person, same person after the whole process. I think that's where men are sadly missing the boat because they have not tempered their expectations.
Okay. So when you say there were these aspects of her that cancer can't touch,
Yeah.
I hear you saying that, it was her laughing at your jokes, those simple things that we take for granted. What else? Tell me something.
So we both have a love for, I hate to say it, but food and entertaining people and being able to have people come to our home. We have different events that we do, the one coming up. And then, of course, I've been involved in doing concerts and music for many years.
And she enjoys that as well.
Yeah, when I first met her, really, I met her just by happenstance that she was doing catering for a party for her boss at this company, and that's where I first met her at.
Okay,
and,
so
yeah.
having things in common was important. Having those interests in common.
Sure.
And what were the things that you guys did to stimulate each other?
Oh God. First of all, we've always had what we call date night. And so the date night allows each individual to choose something of interest to them, and then we kind of collaborate to grow it. So there are things like, I give you form right now. I sat up last night while she was watching. She watches these foreign films that are not in English, and there's just subtitles. But I sit and watch them with her, and she gets something out of it. So then I begin to start watching them. And some of them are in French, and some of them are in German. That was something I found out about her when we first met, that she likes foreign films. And so we, increased our cable just so she could see people speaking in these funny languages. But the dialogue, just like in any relationship, is not about the language. It's about the hand gestures. It's about the communication. It's about what, laughter doesn't necessarily come in any language. And so
it's also about the storyline.
Huh?
I'm assuming it's also about the storyline.
Oh yeah. Storyline, family, communication, intimacy, portrayal. I mean, all the things in a love story, it just ain't in English.
Okay. So taking the risk or being willing to compromise and step out of your own box of what you think is important to explore what the other person enjoys. There was that on. So where were you in your marriage or relationship when Jackie found out that she she had cancer. Where were you when that diagnosis came in? How long have you been together, and what was your relationship like by then?
Ooh. So we were already married 5, maybe 7 to 10 years, or somewhere in there. We found out during the holidays
Mhm.
she had breast cancer, and she was stage 4. And so there wasn't a whole lot of transition time where they found out about it. They wanted to move quickly and decide what type of surgery, type of radiation, what type of chemo. I mean, they just went bam, bam, bam.
So what did that do for you? What did that do for you the moment you found out that your wife was diagnosed with stage 4 breast cancer?
Um, I'm a person of faith, and I also know, and just forget how I put this to you. Every marriage is 100%. Sometimes you're 80 and sometimes they're 20. Sometimes you're 60, sometimes they're 40. And so no matter where you are, it's 100% if you're all buy into it. So when she was diagnosed with breast cancer, so now I had to, do things that, when you have children. So took on more of the cooking, took on doing more of the laundry, took on more of and then after she had surgery, I became a nurse. So I had to check the balls that they put on her after surgery. I had to.
Okay, let me stop you for a moment, because you're doing you're doing the man thing.
Right.
And I need you to just rewind a little bit. How did you feel when you found out your wife was diagnosed with stage 4 cancer? How did you feel? What did that do to you emotionally? What did that do to you mentally?
Now, my reaction is not a negative one. I just draw closer. It didn't like some of the conversations you heard, or some of the people that I've counseled and worked with in ministry. A lot of men just already start making exit plans. They already start making decisions that hey, my wife's breasts are going to be removed, so it's time. Is it time to cash it in? Is it time to go in a different direction? For me, none of that occurred. For me, it was more just drawing closer and identify what role I could play in helping.
Were you afraid at all? Was there any fear?
No.
Okay.
No. Well, here's the thing. Let me preface this so we can be clear. My wife already had 20 plus surgeries just in general before she had cancer.
Okay.
So she had some very serious health issues, and so we had gone through major surgeries up prior to this. So I already had some experience on the field.
Okay.
Okay.
So that matters. That
makes
a big difference.
No.
Absolutely. That makes a big difference, because if you are in a situation where you've not had to overcome or ride out those kind of scares, and
it might have been different. It might have been different for me. But I already had been in the position where she already had multiple and many surgeries. So I had time to prepare. This was just the next thing that we had to deal with to try to get on the other side.
Okay.
Yeah.
So by now, obviously, you're already committed to the process. Is it fair to say that you took your marriage vows seriously?
Oh, heck yeah.
And how old were you when you got married?
32.
Okay.
And I was already old enough to have made up my mind. This is what I was investing in long term. And so the statement, for better or worse, for sickness and health, those things come to visit, though. They show up at your door. And so they illuminate exactly where you are in the process and what you are prepared for and not prepared for. But they come to you. And I believe it's completely different if you have to walk through this by yourself or with somebody who's just a boyfriend or a significant other.
Sure.
Marriage, it illuminates them.
But I'm sure you also know, given, your wife, or the both of you, your nonprofit organization,
Hmm.
Fighting Together to Save Lives, I'm sure through that work that you all have met survivors and been in situations where husbands who were in that marriage for 10 years or more, and were over 30, maybe even over 40, who still, it was too much for them, who still,
Absolutely.
they may have been committed up to that process.
Absolutely.
Isn't that a fair assumption on my part?
Absolutely. So as we got on the other side of the whole process of the healing and the restoration, probably 5 years after that, we started getting involved with the Day of Caring, all the other cancer organizations,
Mm-hmm.
and then we began to be asked to come and lecture, myself and others, especially my wife, but me. And so I would go to an event, let's say the Day of Caring, 700-800 women, and it would be 4 men in the room. And the conversations I would have at the table, especially in the workshops, that the workshop would have 30 women in it. And out of those 30 women, maybe 22 of their husbands left.
Wow.
And so
Wow.
they're asking me why.
Wow. So that sounds like over 90%
Oh, easy.
who
Easy.
did not stay around, did not stick it out. So then let me ask you this question. What was the ugliest part for you? What was the ugliest part in your journey with Jackie through this? What was the ugliest part for you? And what was the scariest part for you? Because even though you may not have been scared in that initial, coming to grips with the reality of this diagnosis, I'm assuming somewhere in that journey over those couple of years, there were some scary moments.
Oh, a couple. Well, one of the surgeries that she had, um, after the mastectomy, after the chemo, she had to have a surgery for kind of a breast augmentation, that kind of thing. And they gave her too much medication. I'll use this word that she pegged out. She died on the table.
Mm.
Uh, and when they revived her, it took maybe 12, 15 hours to see if she had some of the damage, or lungs or brain kind of. Now that was scary. That was matter of fact, I'll tell you that in that 24-hour period, she thought that her time had come. And
Mm.
she shared with me, hey, you need to start thinking about, maybe going in a different direction, maybe considering other options in your life, because she was feeling down inside somewhere, that it had taken too much out of her.
Mm.
You
So
get
she
to like,
sounds like she was almost ready to give up the fight herself.
oh yeah, but they had told her that her heart had stopped, kidneys failed, respiratory was interrupted. Yeah. And so she came to and told me, shared what she shared with me, and then she went right back under.
Mm.
That day I said to myself, well,
Mm. Yeah. Yeah. Mm.
yeah,
It's tough. It's tough.
yep.
What did you say to yourself? What was that?
We had a good run.
Yeah.
We had a good run.
Mm. Mm.
And, you can only ask so much. Then you find out where your faith is. You find out, You know, we all say this as Christians, you know, and me even pastoring that, you know, if it doesn't work out on this other side, you know, we'll see you on the other side, that kind of thing. But when you sit in the chair, when it's your turn, when it's, you know, your season, that your loved one has died a couple times in front of you, you find out what you're made of.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
How long did that go on where it looked like she wasn't going to make it?
about 2 weeks.
Wow, that's a long time.
Yeah.
It's a long time.
Yeah, 2 weeks. So she, you know, came around, but then she was out another 24 hours. And then they kept saying, you know, there was something wrong with her blood and platelets. And, you know, she was, what do they call it? Had given her too much Coumadin. So it thinned out her blood too far. And so it thinned it out too far. So she was having like these little mini traumas, you know, in her sleep. So that was the 2 weeks I knew. I said, well, she makes it through this. She's
We're
pretty.
locked in.
Huh?
We're locked in. If she makes it through these 2 weeks, we're on lock.
Well, you know, she makes it these 2 weeks. I know she's a soldier. You know, she can make, if she lives through this, I know she'll be, and she was after that. But let me tell you, that's when the depression started. That's when some of the self-esteem things came to play. That's when she wasn't as she was damaged. Can I say that?
Yes.
She was damaged.
Sure.
And that probably from that point forward for the next 2 years, we had to live with the understanding of depression. We had to live with the confidence. You know, her hair is gone, which is a huge part of a woman's, you know, sense of who she is.
Esteem, identity, image,
her hair,
confidence. Sure.
Confidence, yeah. And so it really had me have to go on overdrive to kind of carry some of those things inside for her, you know. And the reassurance went through the roof, you know, reassuring that, you know, that I mean everything from A to Z, food, her emotions, how she looked, because anybody who's been through this, your tongue it goes black, you lose your eyebrows, all your hair, your fingernails are black. And so now you have that look of death. And you mentioned this, the smell is you can't get around it, the smell. And that lasts for years. And that's
wow. So that's not something you can wash away in the bathtub or the shower.
No, it takes years. It becomes a part of you, and which is the thing that I took time to study what all they're doing. They're killing you to save you. Let me just put it to you like that. They're killing you to save you, and that chemo and radiation, the mechanism that God has placed in us to regenerate, sometimes it happens in your favor, sometimes it doesn't. And so there were 6 women that started that 2 years with her. And when those 2 years were up, there was only one person standing. So you go to chemo, you go to these treatments, and you're sitting next to the other 5 people that you go through this process with, and you know, every 3 or 4 months,
one of them dies.
And
you come in, and then there's another one who's dead. And so then what that must do to hope, you know, and the reassurance that I'm going to get through this has got to be just devastating.
Yeah. And so when you spoke about, men leaving and all these kinds of things, I'm telling you, they do not prepare you for this. They'll tell
Mm,
you, the medical process, but they don't
mhm,
prepare you emotionally at all.
mhm,
You buy a ticket to this ride, you only find out as you're on the ride. They don't. There's no prepping for this, and so for a lot of men, and if they're listening, I'll just tell you, I think it's just selfish of them. It's just selfish, and I
mhm.
feel very strongly about that because when they needed you most, you quit.
Right. Quit on them and quit on yourselves.
Quit.
Um, it gets overwhelming. Um,
Yeah, it brings tears to my eyes because I've met thousands of women, thousands, and they ask me the same question, why? And the only thing I can tell them based on my experience is that I love my wife and that I love God, and so um, I just don't think you can quit on that.
yeah.
So
Yeah. So I have a couple of other questions. Unfortunately, we're almost out of time.
I apologize
Yeah,
for that, but I was on kitchen duty.
I'm not even going to comment on that. Um, but the stench, is it fair to say that smell that lasts for years is like the smell of death?
Oh, easy. It won't. It never leaves. You shower. You can.
So that explains, as I was sitting at your kitchen table a couple of weeks ago and I'm listening to this room full of survivors
Yeah.
just talk organically about their journey. And
Yeah.
I heard several of them say these were the women who are in the beginning stages of their journey.
Right.
Just recently and months ago, finding out that one of them, 11 weeks ago exactly at that time,
Right.
finding out that that they've been diagnosed. And what I heard them saying was that every single day they're wondering, will I make it? Am I
Every,
going to make it till tomorrow?
every day.
Make it to tomorrow.
Every day. And what's so important, significant about that is that some of the people that Jackie started on this journey with, it's not like you had a heart attack, or it's not like something fails. I'm just telling you what they're putting into you and what they're doing to you. It just will just kill you. You just, oh, someone says she just died, and I said, what did she die of? And they just said, well, it's what we're doing to them. They killed them. It's, and so you are bringing down a person's immune system. You're bringing down their ability to for the cells to replicate. That chemo, that radiation, literally is murdering you. It's killing you. It's murdering you.
And that's why so many people are, just opposed to getting chemo or
Oh,
allowing the
yeah,
doctors to do radiation
yeah,
on them. They're
yeah,
choosing to do
yeah.
alternative, more experimental or new, drugs and procedures. They just refuse. They're adamant. And even one of the women that were at the table said, I'm not doing any more chemo. She had one chemo treatment and it was so overwhelming for her. It was so taxing. It was so traumatic for her.
Yeah.
So, I'm not doing anymore. I'm not doing that.
And I will tell you this, from what I've learned, what you got the chance to experience is what we should do more of. Because I find that a lot of women don't have a vehicle for discussion.
Mm-hmm.
Someone to hear them.
Mm-hmm.
And once again, I'm just being honest with you. Most men who are the partners to them, they're not listening. They're still wanting her to get up and cook, and they still want her to do, husband, wifely things. They want her to, still have some sexual type. Man, you got to put all that on the back burner, all of it.
And now that's really selfish. What you just described, that's selfish on a whole nother level.
Absolutely. And so to still want her to have some relationship with those things, and in the back of her mind, she knows the first day chemo, she knows it's killing her. First day. You're dying the first day they give it to you.
Right.
And
And
so,
I want to back up for a
okay,
moment. I'm sorry to interrupt you. I just want to back up for a moment because, I said that that's selfish, and we agreed that, some of the selfish choices that partners make when
yeah,
they decide to abandon their spouse
right,
battling this disease. But I know it's easier said than done too, because even with just general caretaking, when someone gets sick, there are a lot of people that abandon the process when it's not even to this extreme.
oh,
um,
yeah,
and so sometimes people try to create some sense of normalcy by making those requests or having those expectations because they're in denial about the reality of the condition. So they may ask, or put out there that these are still their expectations, but that's their way of compensating for this overwhelming, traumatic new reality. And
yes.
and so I want to give voice to that. I don't want anyone watching to think that, that we're making light of how difficult it is. And it
Oh, oh
takes a
no,
very
no,
special
no,
human being. You have
absolutely, absolutely. I
you
don't
know,
fault any of them. I don't fault any
yes,
because I know once it seems like I'm saying it's a difference watching somebody being electrocuted in the chair and then you sit in the chair. Those are two different observations. Watching somebody die from the perspective of sitting in the electric chair, and then now you say, "Okay, it's your turn. Strap in, brother. Let's give you a shot of this thing." And so it I guess here's the thing: it illuminates who you are on the inside and what value you do have to this marriage and this person. It illuminates that. And for me, I guess I was already had several pre games. All
sure,
the
exactly.
Yeah, I had a bunch of pre games. I had some warm ups. I had some. This wasn't like our first rodeo. This was like rodeo number 12. Now,
Sure,
for somebody who never has been through this, go to the doctor. This happens to their wife, and now it's your turn. Difficult.
right.
Very
It
difficult.
really, it really does speak to the character of the individual. I want to go back to, and which is one of the things that I respect so much about you. What I learned that about you and your journey with your wife, your commitment to your wife. I'm going to say maybe 6 years ago when I had this relationship conference, and I invited you and Jackie to come and speak at that conference. And that's when I really first learned of the depth of your journey together. I don't know if you remember that.
Oh yeah, I
And
remember. Yeah,
when I
yeah.
had you all come
Put
and
our
speak.
eyes on Front Street for you.
Yeah, yes, you did. Yes, you
Yeah,
did. And I haven't forgotten that.
yeah,
I want to go back, though, to a couple of questions. You talked about that there really were times when you were scared and you were, you thought this was it. And times, a period where Jackie gave up and it made a difference having you there. And so for those that are going through this alone and don't have anyone there, I just can't even imagine what is required of them, and that's one of the reasons why fighting together to save lives is so, such a valuable entity to a community, and
yeah,
will eventually, as I speak
yeah,
this out, will eventually be a valuable entity to this nation,
yes,
because I see it growing and I see it, you
yeah,
know, taking a real valuable role, because it is an organization that really caters to women of color. It's not exclusive,
no,
but it definitely offers something special to women of color in particular. Um, but my question before we go to that, because I want to make sure that we give voice to the organization and this event that you all have coming up, I want to go back to the question I asked early. What was the ugliest? You talked about the scariest. I'm guessing that there were moments that you looked at your wife, you saw her body, you saw what was happening, and you probably just shook your head and you're like, oh my gosh, I don't know, I don't know. Um,
You know, I hear what you're saying.
mhm.
I didn't do that to myself.
Okay.
I just didn't do that.
Okay.
So because once again now, my wife has had 12, 15 surgeries before we even got to this.
Gotcha.
And
Gotcha.
so she's had some, listen, since you're asking this question,
Mhm.
I think 50 Cent has been shot 11 times. Jackie's been shot at least 8.
Okay.
So she's got bullet holes on top of bullet holes from surgeries, from scars of breast cancer, from these other things that have happened to her. So um, I don't play with my own head about how she physically looks anymore.
Okay.
I just no one. It's wrong if you. So I didn't set myself up for failure. Can I put it that way? I knew she was going to look this way after surgery. I already knew because I had a book. I knew that. There's a book you can get, and it prefaces you and walks you through everything that happens from A to Z. And I read that book. Our oncologist says, I want you to read this book. And I read, so during the surgeries, during the chemo, during the radiation, I had this green book with me all the time. And when she'd be sitting in there doing the chemo, I'd read the book.
Okay.
It talked about what she was going to be like without her hair. Talked about what hair follicles. Talked about her, her tongue turning black. Talked about her fingers. Talked about if she gets a mastectomy and she doesn't get any kind of plastic or anything, that the holes that it leaves. But I didn't torture myself with change.
Okay.
I don't do it today. I don't.
Okay.
Because I think if you do that to yourself, you're looking to be your own demise.
Wow.
It's your own demise. Because once again, remember we just said that if you don't receive that this person's going to be different afterwards, you're going to think in the back of your mind, well, her breasts are different now. Her hair is different. My wife's hair used to be coarse and black, and now it's thin, and I mean, it's just barely. And we walk the path of each day after day, saying, does this wig work? How's this look? How do I fit in this? She had to get, surgery, for weight loss because she had ballooned. The chemicals and everything blew her up to 285, 290. And now she's down to 175, 180. So she lost 100 pounds. But see, I also believe, what was your real purpose in marrying that person? Was it the life source that you see in a person? Is that what you married, or did you marry her how she looked on the magazine? Did you marry her based on your eyes?
Right.
Did you marry her based on what she looks like in this physical form?
Well, I dare say that anyone who is getting married, whether your spouse ends up with cancer or just ages, you have to prepare yourself for the for the transformation, because if you are committed to it for life, it's coming, and so will sickness. Sickness will eventually come. Aging will eventually come, and so you have to
gaining weight's coming. I heard you say earlier, a guy was divorced because his wife gained weight. Well, geez, buddy, if that's going to hold you, you don't want to get to this bridge because you're going to have to jump off because she gained weight and that's holding you back.
Right. Well, we are out of time.
Okay.
I really want to encourage our viewers, if there's someone out there, whether you're watching live or whether you end up catching this show later on, you're watching it on YouTube after the fact, maybe even a year from now, we want you to be encouraged. This does not have to be a death sentence. This does not have to automatically lead to divorce. Just press through. This too shall pass. You can come through with a best friend and a quality and substantive friendship and relationship unlike you would have had without this part of the journey, this trauma, and know that there is support out there, and this organization is a key segue to support that you may not get anyplace else, and that is fighting together to save lives. And if we can get that flyer up, please. And while they're putting that flyer up, Mr. Wesley, would you speak to what's going to be happening this weekend?
Oh, yeah. So October 16th, this coming Saturday at 6 o'clock, we're having our Fighting Together to Save Lives 6th annual event. This year we're having what we call the Rat Pack. Shed G, who's been a Denver, Denver artist or, comedian for years, has put a group together. They're traveling all over the country. And we knew him when Jackie did her very first event, and he helped us then. And how we are 6 years later, getting ready to do one. So you put on your best dress, your best, look, food, entertainment.
And you've got a theme, though. You've got a theme this year. So your theme is the Roaring 20s.
The Roaring 20s. Yeah. So old Hollywood glam, the old dresses, the old music. We've got a lady singing some songs. We've got Al Your Pals DJing for us. But let me say this to you. This event tries to put back some of the things that we're taking from the survivors. And so this event, they have a day of massage, hair, looks, and it starts with just loving people. And so Jackie tries to find 6 survivors every year. And the whole purpose of it is loving people. And I believe love still covers a multitude of sins. And so this allows us to put back some of the things that have been taken from these ladies. And it gives them a night to show them how much people can be loved and honored, and give people a chance to kind of refill that reservoir that this journey is kind of taken out of them.
And if you can't make the event, you can certainly donate to the cause to support Fighting Together to Save Lives. They are committed to supporting women through their journey. See www.fightingtogethertosavelives, and support this cause, support this organization, and be there for community, be there for survivors. And it's not just for women who are battling breast cancer, but men are also subject to this disease, and so sometimes there are women on the other side. So again, this event is Dancing with the Breast Cancer Stars this Saturday, October the 18th at the DoubleTree Hotel. You can still get tickets. There's going to be some beautiful entertainment by the Rat Pack. Don't miss it this Saturday. You have been watching R&R with Topazz. My special guest this evening was Mr. Bernard Wesley, the incredible ride or die, true evidence of a ride or die husband who has stuck by his wife, and not out of resentment or anything, because trust and believe. I've been with them in all kinds of circumstances, and they are consistent. They are real. They love each other. They laugh together. They are best friends. They have a beautiful relationship. And so I applause and hats off to Mr. Bernard Wesley. And Bernard, real quick, I'm assuming you're available. If there are men out there that just need some support, that you're available to minister to them, to encourage them, to lift them up. Is that?
Oh God, yeah, absolutely. I'm more than willing to listen to any man or anybody who can't quite get their arms around it, because this is not something that you need to walk into by yourself. You really don't.
So reach out. You can reach out to me, and I will put you in touch with Mr. Wesley or Jackie, the founder of Fighting Together to Save Lives. I'm at 303-801-8052. I am the executive director, the founder of Rediscovery Through Wellness. We are a private practice that is devoted to walking people through unexpected life changes, and that includes terminal illness. So with that said, to any survivors out there who are in need of counseling, in need of therapy, I am offering $50 off of your therapy sessions for the month of October. If you are in need of therapy and you are either a survivor or a relative, a companion, a partner of a survivor, I am here to support you through this journey. You have been watching R&R with Topazz on CTN Media. We are here on Mondays at 7 p.m. Next week will be dedicated to domestic violence. A lot of people don't know that October is also National Domestic Violence Awareness Month. So we will be dedicating a couple of our platforms on Monday nights to addressing the issue of domestic violence. So again, thank you for tuning in. This has been R&R with Topazz and my special guest, Mr. Bernard Wesley. Thank you for your courageous testimony this evening. What you've shared, your transparency, authenticity, it's truly been appreciated. I love you, my brother. God bless you, and God bless you all this evening for being with us. We look forward to seeing you next week. Peace and blessings, everyone. Good night.